right, David, it's good to chat with you today. It's good to have your conversation. How are you doing, man?
Great. Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
For sure. There's a lot of ground to cover with you. I know we have a short period of time. I could talk to you probably for 2 or 3 hours about your career. It's so extensive. You know, I've lived with your music for so long in my life, for the different records you've been a part of, whether it be a band you joined, a band you formed, a band that was formed around you. When I actually did some small preparation for this, I looked at some of the discography online, and I can't believe the amount of records you've appeared on or been a guest on or worked with. You're definitely a working musician, man. I don't know how you have time to eat, sleep, breathe, do this conversation. I don't know how you get it done, but kudos to you.
Thanks. It's just, I find I'm better if I stay busy, you know. Excuse me. If I sit around, then I kind of get stale, and I find it harder to be creative if I don't keep pushing, you know.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that, especially with the pandemic that we just came out of, right? Was it harder to kind of stay busy or find projects during that time, or what did you do?
No, it's crazy. I actually was overwhelmed with work. I went solo about 5 years ago because I kind of got tired of being the band guy, and luckily, I started getting emails saying, "Hey, you know, we're not doing anything. Would you sing on this? Would you demo this? Would you write to this?" And I said, "Yeah, I need to make money because, you know, my last solo album came out the week here in Italy that this whole pandemic kind of blew up about 30 minutes from my house."
Right.
And I had a record release party March 13th, everything going, about 30 shows, and within 7 days, it was a funeral.
Wow, that was the Cacophony of Souls record, right?
No, that was Blacklist Utopia.
Oh, that was the new one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because Because it seems like it was just not that long ago that Cacophony came out, and now it's Blacklist Utopia too. It seems like it was like one after the other. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I average about the solo albums about once every 9 months. Resilient Heart was 2018, I think. Yeah, late 2018, and then I did the UDO tour on that, and then I went home, and then we recorded Cacophony of Souls and played a few shows on that one, and then Blacklist, we wrote that one, and then we had a pretty good tour set up, and like I said, the door got closed in our face.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll talk about the new one actually, and then we'll go backwards in time if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
So Blacklist, I got to tell you, I liked Cacophony. I liked that a lot. I liked a lot of songs on there over and over. Judgment Day is really good stuff, but I'm not just saying this because you're here, because it's the new one, because we're talking about it, but I actually do prefer the Blacklist Utopia. I think it's taken it to another level on this one with the writing, your vocals, the theme of it. I just love what you got going on this one.
I mean, it's you know, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't say I'm apolitical. I'm affected by you are with everything that's going on around us.
Yeah.
A funny story before that happened was somebody, because I tend to lean conservative in my beliefs politically, and I'm a gun enthusiast. I hunt. I come from Montana, so it's a kind of what I'm all about. And somehow during that whole Black Lives Matter thing, when we were recording, somebody in a chat room called me a racist. And George Floyd thing happened. I lived in Minneapolis for about 15 years, right about a block from where all the riots began.
Wow.
So I was watching my neighborhood burn down, and I had an aunt and uncle who were both permanently disabled, and I was terrified that they were going to burn their house down. They couldn't get out. So that impacted me pretty heavily. So the song "I Can't Breathe" is not his what he was saying. I'm basically choked by all of this nonsense on social media, and I was accused of being a racist about that. And somebody at a major magazine who happens to be different color than me went out with it, and the editor called me and really, you know, basically said, "I want you to write a written apology." I said, "I don't know who you're talking about, what you're talking about. 90% of my family is biracial, Indian, Black, Mexican. I mean, I don't get it, and I refuse to play the game. So call it what you will, but I left it up for interpretation." You know, I mean, it's not me defending the police or defending him. It's just this weirdness that's going on.
Yeah, no, that's the vibe I got from it too. As soon as I heard the lyrics and the format of it, yeah, I knew exactly what you were talking about. And it kind of is a bit of a theme. No problem. It's definitely a theme through the whole record. Book of Lies, American Dream. I know it's not completely about that, but it definitely shows what you're thinking today as far as your lyrics go, I would say.
I've never been, you know, with Bangalore Choir, we'll probably get on some of that, but I had a little more of the commercial edge on that stuff.
Yeah.
With the whoa-whoas and stuff like that. But I've always tried to, well, the last few years, I've tried to lyrically, guys like Dickinson and Dio, they wrote stories.
Yes.
Phil Mogg, UFO, are all kind of guys I grew up on. And I mean, I have nothing against that kind of lyric writing, but it just seems that's who I am. You know, if I can put a melody behind what I'm trying to say, all the better.
Right. And while people change, you have different experiences. You're not the same person as you were in 89, 92, 95, 2010. No, I mean, things have changed.
Yeah. I never really thought about any of this stuff as a young, wild pirate, you know, running around the Midwest and the world. You know, I never even thought about it. We didn't talk about these things. Maybe it's a sign of maturation. I don't know. Maybe I always did have it in me. I couldn't give an answer to that. But, you know, I don't remember this, you know, thinking.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's definitely, you can see the difference in what even a year has brought to us from 2020 to 2021. And it shows big time. You worked with the same band members on this record? I know Andy, I'm going to butcher his last name. I can't say it.
Susamil.
Yeah. Did you work with him again?
He produced Blacklist. He produced Cacophony. Yeah. He co-wrote a lot of the stuff on Cacophony, but on Blacklist, it was actually Malta Burkert, the bass player that's in the band. During the pandemic, the whole thing starting, we said, well, it's going to clean up. We'll be all right. He goes, I have a lot of musical stuff recorded and nobody ever wants to hear what I have. You know, I'm just the bass player kind of attitude. Right. And I said, just send it to me. I'm bored. And I was astonished at his talent. I mean, hindsight, Save Me, songs like that. Yeah, he wrote, and I went, "Hey, man, we're off to it." So I think we wrote about 80% of the record together, and Andy wrote, I think, "American Dream" and "Red-Blooded Hellraiser."
Yeah, great song. Yeah, was it easy to choose "I Can't Breathe" as the first taste of that? That's the statement you wanted to make.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a record company band vote. Everybody seemed to lean on that track, the riff and the power of it. And I said, fine with me. But I knew, like I said earlier, that people are going to come after me going, what are you trying to say? Yeah. So I said, read the lyrics, use your imagination.
At least they're listening. That's one thing. So if no matter what they're saying, if they're saying something this way or that, like, hey, at least they heard it. They're listening. They're getting involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I compare it to something like somebody calling me, criticizing my idea of what I'm trying to put down on paper. If you listen to gangster rap, it's nothing but violence, murder, rape, all that stuff. And it's, I guess societal. Yeah. And it's weird to me. It's just very strange.
Yeah, I know. And how much has that changed? That genre changed over the years too, right? I mean, now it doesn't say the same things as it used to. It's get into that all day too, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The videos that you've done for the record, obviously during this time, it's hard to get together with the band and do videos like the way they used to be as well too. But how do you feel about "I Can't Breathe," "American Dream," doing those videos? Do you like how they came out?
My brother did it. He's a greenhorn in the video stuff. And to be honest, I was limited terribly with budget. Yeah. He did the best he could.
Oh, they're good. Yeah, they're good.
Thank you. I mean, they're kind of quirky in a way, but it's good that way. It's not the big dramatic production and standing on a stage with flames shooting everywhere and, a bunch of naked chicks on the dancing pole.
Everybody's doing that.
I mean, I work within the limits that I have in this economy, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him. My brother's a Marine. He's permanent disabled as well from his service. And he's really into the film thing and he's trying to get his name out there. So I was more than glad to help him. He helped me, so I helped him.
Yeah, no, the visual, especially on I Can't Breathe, the visuals that are on there with you in the back, in the corner, and then the things that are going on around it, it's attention grabbing for sure. It makes you look at it. You got to say, what is this? You know, you got to look at that. Yeah. And yeah, for sure. Have you done or been able to do much shows, touring behind this record, or is it just kind of wait and see, especially where you are? Not one.
I had, I had probably 15 shows canceled this year.
Wow.
I mean, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off. And then after a while, you go like, you know what, let's just talk about 2023. I am doing a gig in September on the 2nd in Hamburg. We're going to do a tribute to the On Target album, Bangalore Choir.
Oh, wow.
Special show there. I'm headlining on a Friday night, which is, now it's sold out. I found out it's a 3-day thing. And all the bands from the 80s and 90s are playing. So that should be friggin' great. I can't wait for that. We're rehearsing right now for that. I'm using Italian players based on logistics and all that stuff. That I have a studio fairly close to my house, and luckily the guys that are there are all great players, so I'm going to use them.
Yeah, that's good to hear. You're based in Italy. How long have you been out there? How long have you been living in Italy now?
December 2014, I came here. I was on tour with Bonfire, and I had met my wife prior to joining that band. Best way to test a wife is put her in a van with a bunch of stinky rock and rollers and travel. So I was living in the States still. We'd meet in Germany or someplace, and she'd get in the van and travel. And after 7 or 10 days, I was like, wow, this woman, she's easy to be around. You know, she's not whining after 3 days, yelling at me. And it was kind of a cool road test, and
she gets it.
I felt, she gets it. She kind of was like stunned about how crazy it can be, but that was kind of like the tipping point where I said I want to live with her and get married. So yeah, I'm blessed. Yeah.
Have you? I know you haven't toured, not one much. You just said you didn't tour that much. When's the last time you played a show? How long has it been?
I actually played a gig last year in Bulgaria in July with a band called John Steele. Really weird. I mean, everybody here was wearing masks, and it's just,
wow.
You couldn't even really go out of the house. And I get there, and there's nobody wearing a mask. People hugging me, and I'm all masked up trying to play the game. And I'm thinking, what is happening? You're
getting mixed messages. It
didn't hit Bulgaria. And it's when I left, like a month later, they had a total pandemic or whatever. But I played that gig. Trying to think. I really haven't done much. I've got some stuff at the end of the year, but I'm house crazy. I'm cabin crazy for sure.
It's time
the only way to really, the only way to present a record is to give it legs live. It can sound great on a record, and it's all backwards now.
Yeah.
Recording at home or recording in the studio, and then you go tour, whereas you used to write the song, then play them live, and then go make the album, see if it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all kind of
the tour used to be the thing they would use to promote the album, and nowadays the tour, you use the tour to promote the album. Basically, hey, I have a record out, come to my show, and also I have music you can check out too. It's crazy how it works.
Go to the merch booth and see my life, and people go, I didn't even know this was out. I've been sitting at home for 3 years, so.
Yeah, well, with you have a lot of records out there, a lot of places, a lot of things. So for you, it's like double. You could do a whole discography just on the records you've been a part of, man.
I thought about taking all my favorite songs and re-recording them and just making a record of my history one day. I've always thought about that. Maybe just some ballads or.
Yeah. Well, there's so many styles. There's so many different, so many flavors to what you got. You could do a 2 or 3 hour show. Have you thought about just making a compilation show like that? How long are your shows? What kind of music do you put in your shows, like as far as your solo stuff?
I play obviously Eat the Heat. I do Ecstasy, D-Train, and Hellhammer and Generation Clash at all my shows. People go cuckoo for that. They expect it.
Yeah.
And I love those songs. So I play those pretty much every night that I play. And then I do a few Bangalore Choir songs sometimes, but I really focused on my solo stuff live. And I debuted it luckily with Resilient Heart, because I was a special guest on Udo's tour. And I got to play the whole record and then put in some of the Accept songs. So that worked really good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, it really fills out a show, and you got to play the Accept one, obviously, which is great. It's great, but there's a bigger discography than just Accept too that people should be checking out as well.
Yeah, that was kind of a mandatory thing with UDO Steel Factory Tour. I had to do the Accept. Hey, buddy, I'm going to play a few of the Eat the Heat songs. He's like, go get it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And his son joined us one night for Ecstasy, which is slamming.
Yeah, that's
somewhere in Scandinavia.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Was that the first time you've had a chance to kind of connect with him, to meet him, to hang out with him on that tour? Is that, or have you met him before in the past?
We've been friends since '87.
Oh, since before you even got in Accept. Wow, I didn't know that.
No, I met him. I met him when I was doing Eat the Heat. He was doing Mean Machine next door with Andy Susamil on guitar,
right,
and Matthias Deep. And I can only say one thing about the dude. You probably read it. From the day I walked into that thing, he's always made an effort to come over and be pals with me and give me advice. He actually just wrote a really nice thing about me a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about him and Wolf. And we speak occasionally, but you know, I've saw him at Sweden Rock in like 2010. He ran up to me and it was great. You know, I've seen him, his son's band used to open for me. The band was called Damage, and they were freaking incredible young band. And when Udo was home, he would go to the shows, and obviously when Udo walk in the room, people go nuts, their heads all spin around. Yeah. And then him and I together, and it was always a good thing for the fans, and to see there's peace in the valley. We've never, ever had a problem.
Yeah, that's good to hear. If I'm correct, you have a good relation, except for with the exception of Wolf, you have a good connection with all the members, former members of Accept, I think.
Not really. No? I'm kind of in touch with Peter and Johanna, his wife, occasionally. No conversation with Wolf at all.
No,
but,
I know.
Mostly Udo. I mean, and all the guys that he's played with over the years, I know pretty well. We run into each other, obviously. It's always been, you know, they know what's going on. They've all been part of that family. So we all have that bond, I guess. And
exactly. Well, I want to take you back before even Accept started up. I know you had a previous band that you kind of did some work with that didn't really get released before that, but really, where does it start for you? As far as singing professionally, just whereabouts does it take off? Where did it kick in for you?
About 1976, I think. I was living in an apartment with a bunch of people. I left home early, and I had two factory jobs. I'd come home and the guitar player would have an apartment full of chicks, a Strat in his lap, and I'm like, I hate your guts. You know, he was going out and playing clubs, and I was killing myself to live. And one day I was in the shower, but actually I'd had vocal training as a kid. I was in choir and all that stuff, but I was in the shower singing Communication Breakdown. I remember it like yesterday. And he opened the shower curtain and said, dude, you can sing. You want to join my band? And I'm like, okay. So we started playing beer parties, you know, the old Midwest story. I was living in Minnesota at the time, and it graduated quickly from there to a band called Dare Force. And we were playing 7 nights a week, 5 hours a night, everywhere. I mean, Canada, United States, and we toured constantly. And I cut my teeth, you know, doing cover tunes and trying to be a songwriter, a terrible one at the time. But you got to start somewhere. And we did great. We were, you know, we'd open for a lot of big bands. We were always the band they asked if we were home. You know, Cheap Trick, bands like that in those days were real big. And that's where I started, the Midwest, and kind of got my feet wet that way. And then, of course, the story goes to LA right after that. You want to know about that?
Yeah, basically. Well, I want to get to the point where you actually, I know Accept was trying out different vocalists. Did they find you? Did you find them? How did you connect with them?
Crazy story. And that's what's the magic about music is I was basically homeless living in LA, and I was staying at this woman's house. I slept on her floor by this propane fake gas fireplace. It was horrible, you know, bag my clothes up as a pillow, throw a couple jackets over me, but it was a warm room. She lived in Santa Monica, and her name was Lucy Forbes, and she knew Dieter Dirks really well from the Scorpions, the producer. They were kind of in it, dating, you could say. When he'd come to LA from Germany, they'd hook up. Okay. And I had done a bunch of demo work with the guitar player Mitch Perry, you know him?
Yep.
And I just got sick of it, living in LA. And I said, I'm out of here. And I didn't even take what I'd recorded or anything. And Dieter had showed up a few days after I split. My family had moved to Colorado from Minnesota. And I said, I need to come back. And they're like, all right, come back here and we'll put you up. And I left all my cassettes, everything there, and just took my clothes in a bag and left, jumped on a bus. And about, I don't know, 2 months later, it was winter time, terrible, terrible winter that year. The phone rang and it was Wolf Hoffman.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'd left my phone number of my parents with Lucy.
Mm.
And Dieter had heard one of those cassettes and said, that's the guy. Because they had another guy named Robert Armitage before me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't working out. So he went to LA to do some business for Scorpions because their relationship was ending and a bunch of stuff. And he stopped by to see Lucy and said, hey, I got a problem. She goes, check this guy out. And he heard it and went, that's him. Where is he? She goes, I really don't know, but there's a phone number there. A couple months later, phone rings. Hello, it's Wolf Hoffman from Accept. Can I talk to David? And I'm like, yeah, you got him.
It's a good impression. That sounds exactly like him.
I must speak to you.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking Mickey Mouse. I didn't believe
exactly.
It.
Why would you believe it? Right. Exactly.
Right. And so I think I actually hung up on him. And then he called me right back and said, we have a bad connection. I've got your demo tape from Mitch Perry. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, Dita got it from a woman in California. And I really like it. And we would like to try you out. Are you available? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a day or two later, I was on a flight to Dusseldorf. So, but don't think that I automatically got the gig. I mean,
they were looking, it took a while. They wanted the American vocalist. They wanted that American sound. That's very clear. They were trying out different American singers. They still
the reason is they would, Balls and Russian Roulette, I think did, and Metal Heart did like 400,000. And the record companies are starting to get kind of jumpy going, hey, you guys are killing over in Europe and over here, you're not even breaking gold. We're going to have to expand this thing.
Yep.
And if you listen to like Metal Heart and Russian Roulette, they were starting to get a little bit more commercialized.
Yep.
But Udo's voice didn't fit that, and mine did. So here I am.
Were you aware of them beforehand? Did you have any of the albums? Did you hear the music? Yeah, with Udo.
I covered Restless and Wild, Princess, Balls. I knew a lot of this stuff, but they sent me 50 songs, I guess, and I learned probably 30 of them really well. And basically when I landed, I had jet lag and everything, and I was really nervous. And the next morning at about 8 o'clock, Peter's banging on my guest house door. I opened the door. He said, let's go. I said, where are we going? He goes, to the studio. Let's go to work. The German mentality is very linear when it comes to work. And that's why success happened for Accept, because they nonstop. And I thought, oh, cool. I get to go to Dirk Studios and meet the Scorpions because I'm this dumb rock singer guy, still a fanboy.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I saw Dieter and I saw Rudolph and Matthias.
Oh, I lost your audio. Oh, I lost your audio there first. Yeah, I lost your audio for 1 second. I heard Rudolph and Matthias, and then it dropped. I got you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, honest to God, Peter walked me right down into a demo room, put on a reel of tape, said, here's the song. It was Turn the Wheel Around.
Yeah.
It said, sing something.
Just start singing. Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, that's how we did it every day.
Yeah.
And they would come in, each guy alone, and listen to what I'd done. And slowly. And then the final audition was a live gig in Cologne. And they announced it as Europe's second largest metal band. And everybody knew it was us. Yeah, so when I got there was, yeah. And so, you got 2,000 kids standing outside of a club, it was game on or go home.
Yeah, exactly.
And I passed.
Yeah, clearly you did. Yeah. We know, did you experience working with Dieter? Was he he's been known as being a taskmaster, pretty hard on the bands when he works with them. He's very meticulous. Did you find that experience when you worked with him?
Yeah, I was clueless. I mean, I thought being a club singer, I knew everything. I could copy everybody, and his exact words were in the beginning, "You can sing really well, but you don't know who you are. And my job is to find that out." That really annoyed me because, when you're at 27 years old, you think you're great. He was absolutely right. And another thing that he said halfway through the album was, he just hit pause and looked at me and said, "You realize if this album fails, it's going to be your fault and my fault." And I said, "Fuck you." He said, "No, the media, the fans are going to blame you and me." And he was absolutely right. But we sang from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 1 a.m. every day, nonstop for 9 months.
Wow.
The song "Mistreated" has, I think, 57 vocal tracks.
That's a lot of your songs are great, but the way you do on that song, it stands out completely. Like it's amazing, the vocal on that one. And Wolf's guitar, but your vocal on that is just amazing. So that worked.
Yeah, I like the electric guitars, the trumpets, the waterfalls. There's so much shit on that song that you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I can imagine. We've everyone knows, of course, how that went, but as far as when the record was done, how do you, looking back on it now, 30, 35 years later, when it was done, did you feel like you did your best? That was some of your best work. How did you feel when the record was recorded? Did you feel like, okay, I did it? Or did you feel like I could do better?
I felt I did it. As my experience that would allow me to, it seemed that everybody in the organization was like, yeah, this is going to go great. And it didn't go great. We got a lot of MTV with the video. I think we released the wrong single, Generation Clash. We should have come out heavy because it was so different from the other band that you come out with a song like that. You should have come out with Ecstasy or D-Train, Hellhammer, and then kind of said, we've also got this. We slowly delve into, but I'm not a record company, and they're not that well known for making great decisions.
No, because that's a long song too for a single. You know what I mean? That's a 6-something minute song if I'm right. So that's kind of a weird choice. Ecstasy, right off the bat, that opens the album. It just kicks it right in with Wolf's guitar. Your screaming vocals, like that would have been like, again, I'm not a record company label head either, but I think I could have made a better decision on that as could have you. So wow. No.
I can tell you the story about that. I was in Philadelphia rehearsing with those guys. And when I first heard it on the radio, I'd never heard myself on the radio.
Wow.
I was up to some nefarious shit one night in the streets of Philadelphia with another guy, waiting on a delivery. And that's as far as I'll go.
No problem.
I'm listening to the radio and I hear boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And I'm like, what? And it's Generation Clash. And then they talk about it as the new single from Accept. And I looked at my friend and we're like, oh my God.
Forget what we're doing.
It was a big station in those days at that time. And they played it, 10 times a day. So yeah, that was pretty amazing feeling.
Was there a second single off that they put out, or was it just the one and done? I don't remember.
One and done.
A little bit young back then too, so I really didn't know. But one and done. Wow. Do you know why? Do you know why they didn't push a second one? Maybe Mistreated or something else? D-Train.
Sales were not what they expected. Internal strife amongst the band. One thing I need to make clear with all that is, I didn't hire myself. They made the jump.
Right.
You don't put yourself in a band. So I think they realized we went first to the United States, which I also thought was a bad mistake. We should have hit the festivals, I think, and really just pushed it to the bigger crowds and played some of the old stuff and brought in the new. In hindsight, you know how it is. But we did like 35 club nights. And when you tour with Accept, you never take a day off. It was a nonstop because I had connections from my club days, bookers. So that was going to be our testing ground. And then we were asked to come onto the Wasp and Metal Church tour. And during that tour, it started off in Texas. And I think about a week or two into it, you started seeing less people. For us, for Wasp, it was a Headless Children tour for them. And it really wore on the band. They were used to, being glorified and they realized, this isn't working. So a lot of internal strife started going and kicking in. And I think it just built up on everybody. And then the label basically said, we're not going to spend any more money. Because I think the video was like $100,000 and making the album for 9 months, that's not cheap either.
No.
So, those days are gone.
Yeah. And it's been talked about 1,000 times. I won't bring it up again. And we all know the ending of the band and how that went down. But moving on from Accept into Bangalore Choir, that was a band that was kind of formed around you with different players. I believe Kurt Mitchell, Ian Mayo. Mm-hmm. How did you meet those guys? How did that band start up?
I got fired from Accept. I went back to Colorado, actually, again, to my mom and dad's, homeless again, starting over. And I said, I'm going to LA. People know who I am, because it was like 50-50. They either really loved me or they hated me in that band, Accept. Yeah. So I went out there with the momentum. I'm going to show the world that I can do this. And I met a guy named John Kirk, the rhythm player, and he knew Kurt from Razormaid. And we had a different drummer and bass player in the beginning. And in LA, in those days, you would play once or twice a month. And we just went into the studio and started writing songs. We wrote, rehearsed every day, blah, blah, blah. We got Stevie Nicks' manager to manage us. And connected to him was the band Hurricane Alice.
Right.
So what happened was the record companies, we got into a bigger management thing, Whitesnake's management and all that stuff. But actually, I was going to finish the show thing. I played 9 shows that year. And at the end of the 9 shows, over about a 9-month period, I had an offer from every label in LA. It went fast. Wow. So I picked Giant Warner Brothers, good budget, great management. But right when it starts kicking in, the record company says, hey, we're not so interested in the image of your drummer and bass player. And Hurricane Alice had just been dropped from Atlantic. So I knew Jackie, the drummer, for years. We played in different club bands. It was just kind of like, all right, bring him in. And that they didn't play on the album, Jackie or Ian. So
that's true. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Their names are attached. Yeah, but their names are attached to it. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we're all grew up together. So we go out with Lynch Mob because they're managed by the same guys. Do a bunch of other openings and stuff like that. And the album came out really strong. But we all know what happened in '91.
Yeah.
Another stroke of bad luck. We shipped, I think, about 350,000 units that sold, and we had a hit on MTV with Loaded Gun. Mm-hmm. And then a month later, they dropped us.
Wow! And again, no further singles, no other push. It was just here's the Loaded Gun, here's the one single. Okay, that's it, and then drop. Wow.
The exact words were, "We need to have a meeting in the office," because we were talking about going and opening for Whitesnake on Slip of the Tongue. That was the plan. Break the band because they had the same management Whitesnake as us.
Oh wow!
And of course, we're going, this is it, man. We're going to cross. It's going to happen. Go to Europe, go to Asia. And I think 2 weeks later, I got a call. Went down to the office because I was kind of the band leader, and said, it's over. Get a day job. No. And I said, what? Is this a joke? No, man. Grunge has killed the rock market. It's over. Which was the furthest thing from the truth in the rest of the world, because grunge really didn't stick until about 95 in Europe and in UK.
Exactly.
So had I taken the band over to Europe and couched it and gypsied it, I could have really sustained the life of the group, kept it alive. But, when you're told your life's over, you tend to believe the guys in the suits, and it was a crushing time.
Talk to me about the name of the band. Who came up with that? Was that you? Was that a name that was already in place? How did that one come around?
Well, a Bangalore is a military torpedo. And my brother's a Marine. It's a long pipe. If you've seen Saving Private Ryan, they screw the pipes together, put it under the wire and blow it, and the guys can get through. So my idea was I wanted a very vocal group, a lot of harmonies, and Kurt's an insane singer. Ian's a pretty good singer. Jackie, great singer. So it meant explosive vocals was kind of my little weird thought. So I called it Bangalore Choir. And one of the hardest words for a European to say, a German calls it chore. A Swiss guy will call it Bangalore chore. Don't even ask an Asian guy to say it. No. So you're always trying to say Bangalore Choir.
Yeah, try to sound it out all the way through.
Yeah, it had its pluses and its minuses.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, it makes sense with the album cover too, with the On Target and the missile on there too. So it all worked out good. And then of course you put the lady on top to make it just commercial.
Didn't hurt.
Yeah, it didn't hurt exactly.
Well, it did in a way because when grunge took over, they were like
they didn't want to see
anti. They don't want to see naked chicks anymore. And I don't blame the fans. I mean, everybody's got a blonde lead front man, and, you know, David Lee Roth started that whole thing. And then how many bands can come out, you know, singing Ain't Nothing But a Good Time, and the fans are going, you know, I need something different.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the Beatles came over, you know, they flipped rock and roll on its head. You know, Elvis was king, and then they went to Vegas. So, I mean, it was good for change, but I always knew with grunge, this is temporary. Yeah.
It's a fad.
Because
or it's coming through.
And it didn't have the legs like the Beatles had. I mean, there were some great artists, and 90% of the singers that were great are gone. You got Eddie Vedder still around, but the guys that really made a footprint vocally, they're not with us anymore, and that's a sad thing. But it just didn't sound like it. Almost was as pretentious as the '80s rock thing to me.
Yeah,
you know, depression. It was all about depression, and '80s music was all about party time. You know what I mean?
It's like, we're bored of this '80s party time. Let's try this depression stuff for a bit, like you just said, and then let's see what else sticks after that. And then it's continuous cycle. Yeah. And see where we go.
Let's eat Prozac and shoot smack, you know, and do heroin and Prozac and tell everybody about, you know, child abuse and, you know, my misery. I mean, that was
heavy.
Maybe it touched a nerve.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So something I don't hear, I've gone back and looked at a few interviews. I don't hear a lot of people asking. I know because it wasn't a big thing, obviously, but I mean, some people don't know the records exist. Maybe you don't know they exist, but it's the Circle of Silence records, which I absolutely love, and I just stumbled upon those too. So I didn't realize Greg Chaisson and Jay from Hurricane were in the band there with you as well. So talk to me a little bit about how that came together.
Like myself and Janie Lane, rest in peace, was a friend of mine. All of us kind of thought, well, if we're going to stay relevant, we better get dark. Yeah, let's get heavy. Let's go Sabbath. And I think that first one is pretty Sabbathy, you know, blah, blah. But it was weird with Greg because Ray Gillen had gone to New York, sadly, to pass away. And I'd done a bunch of shows with Badlands with Bangalore. So I'd kind of struck a friendship up with Jake and Greg. And they asked me to come down and try out for Badlands. They were going to kind of try to keep going.
Oh, wow.
But there was a lot of wounds, you know, in that group, and it just wasn't happening. So Greg said, hey, I've got an idea, Circle of Silence, sped with an S to be SOS. And I know this guitar player, Larry Farkas, and let's do something. So we wrote that record with Steve Plunkett from Autograph. Because Steve had written with me before on Bangalore, and we kind of wrote a lot of stuff together. And nothing happened. I mean, I made some pretty large budget deals with those records from Asia, but it didn't grab on. And it's weird because now I've re-released the vinyl on those a few times, and some of my gigs, people show up with those albums going, wow, I really love this. You know, I never knew it existed. It was just kind of one of those things, you know, try to stay relevant, and people could see through it, I think. But now it's got legs. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no, that's how it is after you record something like the Accept record, like Heat the Heat. Nobody got behind it when it was released, and now 30, 40 years later, people are like, oh, that's one of the best records they ever did. That's this, that's that. It's crazy.
It's a curse and a blessing at the same time. Nadia, can you turn the fan on, please? It's a curse and a blessing at the same time for me, which follows you around, you know, excuse me, obviously your whole life, but I have no regrets. I mean, except put me where I am today. That opened so many doors for me, either good or bad. Yeah.
Did you play any shows or any of those songs from Circle of Silence at any point?
Yeah, we played a few gigs with Circle of Silence. You know, we did the Hollywood Strip and, you know, FM station, a few places. Nothing really happened. I think we did. Yeah, we went out and played the Midwest a little bit. But at that time, Greg had left the band. He was pretty fed up with, like I was.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
He's an amazing bass player. That guy is killer.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bassists in the world. So yeah, they just kind of crumbled, you know. And then I retired.
This is like 95, I guess. You did 2 records with Circle. You did the Suicide Candyman, which is also a good one, but I like the first one a little better. But
it's
Good and Die Laughing is a great song, but there's some good stuff on there. There's some good stuff on both those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I retired. went to Tennessee, bought a farm, and went back to being a redneck because, I just said, how many strikes you're out that can I put up with? And it was a real frustrating, dark time. And 9 years I didn't touch a microphone.
Wow. Crazy.
And then
you made up for
that. I actually moved to Montana because I'm an avid hunter and everything. So while I'm there, this guy offers to give me a ranching job because I did that as a kid, kind of with my grandfather and stuff. I knew a little bit about it, but not on that scale. But I would go and hunt on his ranch, and I told him I'm a house painter by trade, and I said, your house needs painting. He goes, yeah, all you guys say that and never help out. You just come up and you use me to hunt and then you go home. Yeah. I said, no, go buy this and this and I'll stay here and do it. So I did. And he hired me. And I was like, you know what? I need this because I was a full-blown alcoholic. Manic depressive at the time. I was just lost. I didn't know if I was coming or going. And so I stayed there and hooked up with him for about 4 or 5 years. And I finally got a computer because I trained hunting dogs as well. And a guy traded me a computer setup for a puppy. I didn't know how to turn it on. So he came over and turned me on to MySpace. And as soon as I set up a page, hundreds of people started going, where have you been?
They recognize your name. Yeah. This is early 2000s. And yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had 3 band offers in 1 week.
Wow.
And I took the Gypsy Rose album in Sweden.
Yes.
And I did that, went back to Montana. Of course, nothing happened with that. Pretty good album. And that kind of was my reintroduction to music, I think around 2006 or something.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard that record. I know you did a record with them. I've not heard that band. So I know that was kind of you just did one record with them, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this in the time? Did you meet those guys? Did you actually spend time with them in a studio, or is it all like over the internet? Okay.
Imagine this. I never told my boss in Montana, a redneck cowboy, that I used to be a rock and roll singer. It's just not something you talk to those kind of people about.
It's a different life, and they don't.
Yeah, they don't get it. Like, what are you, crazy? And they probably would have thought I was lying. I mean, how can you sit down and tell your life story? So.
And then how could you prove it, right? Before the internet.
Well, I mean. It's funny, when I did talk about it, the guy's wife went online and printed out all these photos and went, why didn't you tell us? I mean, I'm like, because I didn't want you to think that I thought I was better than you or anything. Like, I'm just Dave.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? So then I said, by the way, I got to go to Sweden.
By the way, I have an actual band I'm going to participate in.
Yeah, they're like,
speaking of that,
what do you mean? We got 200 cows. Yeah, we got all these cows. You can't leave. So I came back and went back to my job and waiting on shows. And we played Sweden Rock once, I think, with those guys. But nothing ever panned out from it.
Was it supposed to pan into something, or was it just a one-off? How was it supposed to be with Gypsy Rose?
Yeah, the talk was all there. And I'd been out so long. I didn't know about illegal downloading or anything. Like I said, I'm green to it. And I didn't know anything about CD sales, dive bombing. And, I had no clue. About how tough it had become to sell records.
Yeah, it changed.
I learned pretty quick.
yeah. That was the first introduction to that.
Yeah.
So
nowadays, you sell 5,000 records, you've got a hit record. Back in my day, if you didn't do 500,000-600,000, they weren't even considering an option.
Oh, I know. If you couldn't hit, even if you couldn't hit gold, you were considered. If you had a platinum record and you hit gold the next one, you were done almost. Like you weren't worth your weight at that point. Yeah.
Platinum would pay the bills for the first album, so you hope to get on a tour and make $200 a day, opening for Guns N' Roses or something to sell your record. That was the old way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things have changed. The next thing I saw from you, I guess maybe the first thing, is the universal language record you did in 2009, I think it was. Was that the first time you said, okay, you know what, no more bands, I'm just going to put my own name down, do my own record? Is that kind of where you
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I was thinking that. I just wanted to keep busy. And I went to Minnesota and worked with some of the old Dare Force guys to produce it, and had some outside songwriters working with me. Mm-hmm. And that one really didn't do anything. It kind of kept my name out there.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of, taking too many projects, and got that reputation of the guy who's everybody's whore, singing in their band. When they fire a singer, let's call Dave. I just wanted to play.
But now everybody's doing that now. I mean, if you look at
yeah,
it now,
it's the norm.
You paved the way for that, basically, if you want to think of it that way.
One of them,
yeah,
Jeff Scott Soto and I,
yeah, exactly.
Jeff
That's
and
a good
I
example.
Probably 30 different bands in our life that made records, and
look at Mike Portnoy now too. He's a drummer in all these different bands too, 56 bands. I mean, everybody's doing it now to make money, to make something.
You gotta live.
You gotta live. You're a working musician.
Yeah, and it's a great thing, but then you got your armchair quarterbacks going, oh, look what he's doing now. But
so
that's what I did.
Yeah. And so between that, so this is where it gets a little bit, I guess you were obviously working, doing a lot of different projects, but between 09, 10 and joining Gypsy Rose, what was happening, or not Gypsy Rose, Bonfire, what was happening between all that? Were you still doing any tours, shows, working on the farm? Where were you?
Back and forth. I did some Bangalore choir reunion shows with different players.
The Cadence
I did
record,
Firefest.
Yeah.
I did the live album live at Firefest with Kurt and Danny, the original bass player, which was probably one of the greatest gigs of my life. I hadn't spoken to those guys for 19 years, and we're sitting in a hotel room in England rehearsing the record, and played a burner the next day, and it was recorded. I was just kind of piddling around, working with other artists and stuff in between that, and then I went back to the States and was doing my construction gig, and I got an email from Michael Voss that Hans Ziller was wanting to talk to me, and he had a band called God, I can't even remember the name of the band.
I'd have to look it up. You have a huge Wikipedia, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't really look at that part of my life as a great time, but doing that project with Hans, then he said, well, Klaus is leaving Bonfire. Would you be the singer? And I said, and the money that he offered me was great. And I said, of course, in the tour schedule, the first year we did 180 shows, I think.
For clarity, that's the German band that did the cover back in the 80s of the Kiss song, right? On the Shocker soundtrack. Is that's the same guys, right? Yeah. Okay. For people that don't know.
I forgot what it's called.
Sword and Stone.
Yep. They did that, and they had a couple kind of semi-successful singles. You Make Me Feel.
Right. Yeah. They weren't a big band. For those who know, just for clarity, people who are listening who want to know who that was, that's the same band. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're still going. They got a new singer. They just got a new drummer again. I mean, I think I was number 28 that had been in the band, and now it's like 32 people.
Jeez, that's crazy. You did 2 records with them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did Glorious, which was their best-selling album, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it took off. We sold about 7,000 records.
Wow.
We were right under when Coverdale did the Purple album. We were right behind him in the charts. I mean, it was
2015, 2016 era, I think that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're like,
that's amazing.
We're charting. Oh my God, look at it. It's right behind Whitesnake. I can't believe it, And
I covers record of Whitesnake, but yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a ton of shows. The next year we redid Pearls, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
I re-recorded a lot of Klaus's stuff, double album. And at that time I'd had enough. They'd had enough of me. So we parted ways.
Can you say, I don't know if you've talked about it before or not, if you're willing to, but can you say why that didn't work out?
I just don't like Hans Ziller. I mean, he doesn't like me. I hated the manager. It turned out later the manager, as they carried on, stole a ton of money from him. I smelled it. I've been through it. I said, this guy's going to rob us. Hans protected him. That drove a wedge between us. And I turned out to be right about it. Just really shady business going on. But I mean, I wish them luck. They're still kicking it, doing what they do. We just don't like each other. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't. There's guys in the band that I think are okay. I don't want to badmouth them. It's a stupid thing, but it's water under the bridge for me.
Is that the last band that you've joined or participated in, and it's been solo since then, or have you?
Yeah.
Other than guesting in other places, it's been pretty much solo.
I did the last Wicked Sensation album during the COVID lockdown. I did Outbreak, amazing record. But I kind of just had made up my mind, during the Bonfire time, I have to be honest, I was really a bad alcoholic. I mean, I always felt like I had to have a beer before I went on, or 10. During the set, I had to keep drinking. Then after the show, trying to wind down, I would drink. And I had been drinking like that for 20 years. And I knew I had a drinking problem, but, you're always the last one to admit it. Right. Thank God I've been clean now almost 4 years without a drop.
That's amazing. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I had I went through all the drugs in the 80s, and then I just somehow ended up this guy who drank too much, and I'm going to take part of the blame for the Bonfire split because I was drinking like an idiot. I mean, I bloated up. I was singing good, but I just wasn't in my head.
Yeah, that's why I was going. Well, it's amazing you touched on that. You mentioned the singing. Like, it doesn't seem to have affected you then or now. Like, your singing is just.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Look at
Glenn Hughes. Yeah. He's the freaks of nature.
He's a freak. He abused himself for 50 years, and he's sounding better now than ever before.
It's crazy what he can do. I think he's in his early 70s, and him, Steven Tyler. I mean, you look at Mick Jagger, in a good way, you call them the freaks. And I think I can put you in there too, because it's just amazing. I know you're not as old as they are. I'm not going to age you like that.
No, I'll be 62 this year.
Yeah. Well, still, your voice sounds better than ever, or the same as it has been, as far as I can see. Even the live shows, I've seen live clips, and sometimes they don't always tell the story. But even in live clips of you doing the old Accept stuff, like Hellhammer, that's not an easy song to sing. I can imagine. Not a singer, but my God, how you still do that in 2019 or whenever you were doing the Eat the Heat shows? It's crazy.
Yeah, that was. I had just gotten sober right before that. And I'd never done a tour in my life completely sober in my life.
Wow.
And I did the whole tour sober. I said, wow, I did it. And I was listening to songs. I go, you sang pretty good. My health was good. I think if I'd have kept going down that road, I wouldn't be talking or singing half as I was back then. Alcohol it's a tricky thing. I mean, it's a fake disguise that everything's going to be all right. But the more I drank, the worse I felt. It got to that point. Yeah. Well, I never got hangovers because I drank all the time, but my behavior, it altered. I would get really loud and aggressive, and I didn't realize it. It was just my behavior. Mm-hmm. And my wife said, how many beers have you had today? And I honestly, at that time when I quit, I was drinking like 2. But the doctor told me that if you drink that many years, your brain gets kind of wet. So 2 or 3 beers will trigger you like you drank 10 or 15.
Right, yeah.
So you get to that level, and it's like, I'm shit-faced on 2 Italian beers. This is not what's happening,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I try to sing every day and work out. Eat right, and sleep is the biggest savior for any singer. Mm-hmm. And when you're done doing a show, you got to meet the fans. That's you owe it to them. But don't set up in the bus or the van and talk all night till 4 and then sleep 2 hours and then try to go sing.
Talking too much. I mean, I've heard that from a lot of different singers I talk to, but talking, they have warm-up routines. Do you have a warm-up routine? Do you sing in a towel? Do you do the scales? Like some people do, scream in a towel, like Steve Whiteman from Kicks?
Yeah, I do that. I a funny thing about that is the first night with UDO, I hadn't seen Udo for, 5 years or so. And I went into the bathroom and I could see he was sitting on the toilet in the stall, and I'm going la da 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 da, and he said, "For God's sakes, Reece, shut your mouth! I can't take this stupid scales. Shut up!" And I said, "Udo,"
because he's not doing that.
He doesn't fucking care. The guy's bulletproof, man.
I know. He's amazing too.
He had a bone infection on his leg and had to walk with a cane.
Yeah.
And he said, "You have to go to the hospital and cancel." I will never cancel. He did the whole tour and
that's the German mentality.
Man. I mean, that's Udo.
Yeah, amazing. That's good. So that's where you do your warm-ups, and the bathroom stalls and before every show.
If I can find a quiet room or I just walk outside and go and just say, "Oh, it's working today." Yeah. It's not every day. The trick to being a singer is when you're ready and when you're not. So you're going to have 99% of it's in your head, I think. And then if you let that get a hold of you, if you're not feeling too good or you're tired, you can really fall apart. So you just have to say, let's get to work and go give it everything you've got. And if you have to cheat a little bit and cut the melody down, do it, but present it. sell it.
Yeah.
You know?
As long as it's all real, all live, it's no fake
I
vocals,
don't
fake
use
tracks.
fight
That's
vocals.
amazing. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Don't do it.
That's good to hear. And people appreciate that too, for sure.
Yep.
Was it troubling for you when you did the Accept tour, going back and doing some of the older stuff that Udo was doing? Did you feel like you were comfortable doing that? Did you want to change some things about the way? Because obviously you're two different singers.
I had to follow the bouncing ball, you know, the classics.
Yeah.
You know, it was
like balls and like everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean, that's extreme
Breaker.
vocals.
Yeah. People don't realize that.
But when you're 28, you're bulletproof, right? You can, as a singer, but when you get a little older, you realize, well, I lost an octave. I'm not hitting that note like I did 5 years ago. You know, how do I make it sound that powerful and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but that's what I did. I did during the lockdown. Can we go to that phase now, or?
I'll ask you one more thing I just skipped over, and then we'll go through there. I've just actually recently discovered that you were in a band, Tango Down, I think is the name of the band.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I heard one song, a couple songs off one of the records, but it just goes to the thing what I said earlier, where you're doing so many things, so many projects. I'm finding stuff out still about you that I thought I already knew. You know what I mean? Like the places, the people you've worked with.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are great. The bass player, Ronnie Parks, is actually the full-time bassist in Bonfire. When they offered me the job, I said I wouldn't do it without Ronnie. So I was being the loyal Democratic brother. Sadly, he and I are no longer friends, but I got him out of his Bon Jovi tribute bands into a real touring thing in Europe. I think he lives in Ireland now, from New Jersey to Ireland. I mean, he's stepped up. Tango Down was kind of just a project thing. It never really did anything but a couple of, melodic rock festivals, or a couple club gigs. I like Scott, the guitar player, a lot. He's great. I like Keith, the drummer. But I don't really even think about that stuff anymore. It's weird.
Yeah, well, I can imagine because you've done so much. That was a Frontiers project too, wasn't it?
No, that was on Kibble Records.
Oh, okay. I thought it sounded like a Frontiers. I know they're still doing. They're still together with a different singer, I do believe. I noticed that too. But they're still going at it.
Chaz West.
Yes, yeah.
I've never done an album for Frontiers.
Oh, you never have? Weird. I'm surprised. I mean, because they're offering, they're offering advances to, rockers like yourself, right? To form a project or something. I'm surprised they didn't.
The program is weird there. I think, the company owns the band name, puts all these name guys together. They have one writer who writes all the songs.
Alessandro, Del Vecchio guy. Serafino owns it. Yeah.
That's how it works. And I'm signed to AFM now. And
okay.
Yeah, I've got some pretty big news. You're probably aware of it, but we can get to that.
Yeah, we can get to the end. We'll finish it off there. So we'll go. We'll let you go in a few minutes, and I'll talk to you about through the pandemic, as you mentioned. We'll touch on that, and then we'll get to the new stuff, the very new stuff.
Well, I did a new John Steele album, the Bulgarian guys.
Yep.
I did an album called with a group where we came up with a name called the Highway Sentinels. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
And on guitar is Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Bumblefoot, Kane Roberts, you name it, the guitar players are on it. And Jimmy Waldo from Alcatraz contacted me with Steve Rosen, the guy who used to write for Rolling Stone and Guitar World, and said, hey, would you be our singer on this and write the lyrics? And I'm sitting here starving to death. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. Because I didn't know what the future would hold at all.
Right.
So I did that. And then Michael Klein from Wicked Sensation called me, thank God. And I did that album, Outbreak, which is fabulous. Dennis Ward produced that.
Oh, nice. Pink Cream 69.
But none of those, they're kind of just projects. And I'm proud of what I did. Don't get me wrong. But, I don't know what the future holds for any of that stuff. Sentinels comes out and John Steele in July, because contractually I can't release anything 90 days prior or 90 days after this big band thing that I'm going to tell you about that's coming out. So that's what I did during COVID. So you want me to tell you what's happening now?
What you can, yeah. If you can.
I'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
You mentioned Accept, yeah?
Yes.
Well, guess who emailed me one day? Take a guess.
Can I say Peter?
Herman Frank.
Yes.
Herman Frank sends me an email one day, or a messenger on Facebook. Hey, Reece. And the weird thing about Herman is I'd play a lot of gigs and he would be playing and we never got to meet each other.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'd always heard about him and I knew of him from Victory and everything. He said, would you be interested in writing songs with me? And I said, Hell yeah. So he sent me like 3 songs and they were killer heavy stuff. And I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I think we should make a record. So we signed a record deal with AFM. We had a producer working on the album. We've chosen another one who's in production right now, mixing the album. I can say it's a band. It's called Iron Allies.
Mm-hmm.
It's myself, Herman, Malta from my solo album, Blacklist Utopia and Cacophony on bass, and Francesco Giovino on drums. You know, Francesco, he's playing with Yorn and a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy named Mike Peason, who's playing in Herman's solo band, Herman Frank, and in Victory. I got to say, I think this is a band that I'm going to stick it to and really hang my hat on. And, you know, I'm going to continue to do some solo stuff, hopefully.
Right.
And I've done a bunch of demo work with other artists, you know, that I get paid to write to it and get the rights to it and sing on their demos. But Herman and I are a team. We own the name. We signed the deal together. And a guy like Herman Frank, he's no slouch. This guy it's sad because Wolf always gets all the attention as a guitar player. And that's the way they want it. They've molded that band around Wolf.
Yeah.
But Herman is a phenomenal writer, a phenomenal guitar player. As a matter of fact, the first demos, I was in a studio where they do James Taylor style stuff, you know, the producer. And he goes, who's the guitar player? I said, Herman Frank. He goes, man, that guy gets it.
Oh, yeah.
It's all in the hands. And he's just so good.
I know.
The album is 12 tracks. It's amazing. It's
well, people forget he was on Balls. He was on when they got back together in 2010. He was on that Blood of the Nations record, like all those big ones up until mid 2000s. Like he was a big part, and it's too bad that they lost him. But I understand why. But I know I've seen a lot of pictures online of you guys in the studio. It's a lot of you've been teasing the stuff that's been going on. It's getting a lot of attention, a lot of excitement. I think because you two are working together, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's an automatic door opener. You get 2 guys that were canned basically from Accept.
Yeah,
and we both have our fan base, and we have a history together, sort of. And I mean, I was promoting Blacklist, and he was promoting the last Herman Frank album, and every journalist going, "Okay, what's going on with Iron Allies?" We'd always have to say in the beginning of the interview, "We're not going to talk about Allies till the end of this. I'm promoting this record." So.
Well, he broke the news, I think, at one point too, didn't he not? Someone guessed your name. I think he did an interview and someone guessed, I'm working with a former Accept vocalist and you might know who it is. And it's like, well, it's David Reece. And that's it.
And that was, I mean, he told us all to be quiet and don't say a freaking word. And then I read that. I'm like, hey, Herman.
It's because he wanted to drop the news. Yeah, it's because he wanted to drop the news. Yeah, don't let you do it. That's okay. He deserves some. He deserves that too, though. He's always the second side man. And he deserves that.
Yeah. I love the guy. I think he's criminally underrated musically, and he's just a sweetheart of a person. And this album, I guarantee you, if you like Circle of Silence, and if you like Bangalore, and if you like Eat the Heat, we've got all that stuff. We've got, I mean, it's just in your face, power, heavy, melodic. And I can't tell you how excited I am about it. I mean, I was a little disappointed we had to get rid of the last producer due to some health issues, which everybody understands, but we got a great guy producing it right now. We should have it done in 2 weeks.
Oh well, it's coming up.
And we're hunting shows. We've got a great big agency that's going to be booking us, and hopefully we can get out and after October release and play some gigs, and then blow through it in early 2023 and make another album.
So do you think when you get back to doing shows, it's going to be with this band versus your solo stuff? Will you mix the two up and do some solo shows, do this? Do you think you're going to have a full schedule?
I have to be focused, because when you're hustling solo shows, it's like Herman hustling solo shows. You're stronger as a unit. I'm not to say that I don't do okay in some markets, but I'm doing the Bangalore choir thing because the promoter, Oliver Longa, asked me to do, can you do a special Bangalore night? The people would love it. And I did that at Firefest in 2010. I said, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, my focus right now is that. And if I do any solo shows, I got to be honest, it's you're on the phone all day. And if you're not putting in, 200 or 300 people in the club, they're not really that interested in talking.
Right.
Especially coming back from COVID. So a band like us with 2 or 3 named guys, it's more of an interest, with a different fan collective. The promoters are like, yeah, I want that show. I want this. I want that. So I would like to focus on that.
Do you think when you do the Bangalore show, is it going to be just focused mainly on the first record, or both records, or the 3 records? I know you have a third one too, I think, right? For Bangalore. That was off my radar.
They want to do On Target, tribute to On Target, and amazingly, I didn't mention that we had Global Rock Records had done a release of all 3 CDs.
Yes,
a few
I
months
saw
ago.
That. Yep.
That's coming. That's out. So it's going to be strictly an On Target night. I'm going to throw in I Can't Breathe in a few of those tracks, and some Accept songs, Hellhammer.
Yeah, they'll fit
a couple
nice.
of cover songs. You know, I'm headlining, so I got to do about 90 to 110 minutes. I'm pretty stoked about it. It's sold out. I think it's like 2,000 seater in Hamburg.
Nice. It's going to be great.
But I want to push the Herman thing with Iron Allies, because he and I both know at this point in our life that we need each other. And what we created is, I can't say it enough. It's like, I don't get that excited usually. I go, yeah, thanks for the compliment. I like that album. It's great. But this one, I'm like, I think I nailed it.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear that. Can't wait to check it out, and for people as well too. Maybe by the
Stay
time
in touch, I'll get you one.
Yeah, awesome, man. I appreciate that. A couple more Accept things I want to hit you with, and then I'll let you go back to your day. The speaking of Herman Frank, it would have been amazing. It's too bad it didn't happen this way, that he wasn't the second guitarist when you were there. I know there was I know when you guys recorded the record, it was just Wolf doing all the guitars, and you had a guy by the name of Jim Stacy that joined you guys on the tour. Can you talk about Jim at all? Where did he come from, and have you had any
I don't know. I don't know where Gabby, Wolf's wife, found him. One day I walked in the studio. Jorg Fischer was the guitar player when I joined.
Right.
They fired him.
Yeah.
Sadly, because I loved Jorg. And then this guy walks in from England that I didn't even know who he was. And she said, well, I'll meet your new rhythm guitar player. I'm like, what? You know, nice. Thanks for asking me, you know. So he was easily groomed, and where to stand, what to play. And I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen a picture of him. I don't know
see anything about his discography. I don't see if he's been on other records. I can't. Something I wanted to ask you about is, where did he come from and where did he go? If you knew, it's kind of crazy.
He was an English guy, and
I thought he was American too. I didn't even know that. So okay, he's a British guy, English guy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
I have no idea.
He wasn't in the studio. He was just strictly for the tour to do the fill-in.
Rehearsals and tour.
Wow.
Rehearsals and tour.
Yeah, and he's on the cover out of nowhere, and that's it. Yeah. There's a guy standing there with you, and that's it.
Kind of a White Snake thing, you know. Here's Rudy and Tommy, but they didn't play on the records.
Yeah, here's John. Anything. John's not going to be on tour. Yeah, I don't know that story. Oh, fun times. You wonder why John doesn't want to deal with it anymore. Yeah, you can't hear from John now, unfortunately. Last thing about the Accept too, and I don't usually like to, maybe it's clear, I don't usually like to pre-plan for chats. I usually like to go on what I know and just kind of let a conversation go. But I did look up a couple of things on YouTube, and one was an old interview you did with Wolf when you first joined the band. And something you said in there really struck me when you were talking about how when you joined the band, what he could do with his guitar, the way he could play, he could do things a whole lot. He was more open to more things now with your voice versus Udo's voice, and it showed what kind of things he could do that was already there before, but now he has more opportunity with that. I thought that was a great compliment of his playing, that you could really see what he was doing. I thought that was a good thing that you kind of mentioned.
Well, here's how it happened. I'm a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan.
Yeah.
Stevie was playing Bonn, Germany. I said, you got to see this guy. We get there. There's 20 people in the club. Stevie sat down on the drum riser, took the boom stand down, and said, hey, y'all, let's have some fun. And just blew the roof off of that club. We both I drank about 10 beers. Wolf stood there with the same beer through the whole set, didn't even drink it. And when it was over, he goes, let's go to World of Music. I have to buy this guy's records. We drove to a 24-hour music store in Cologne called World of Music, WOM. He bought every cassette and CD he could find. The next morning, I woke up and he was playing Scuttlebutt.
Nice. So it opened up his horizons. Yeah,
I did. And I said, are you a Pink Floyd fan? He goes, not really. So he started listening to Gilmore. So if you listen to the solo on Generation Clash with the Strat, he's really showing his versatility. Instead of just
you didn't hear that on the other records. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It was a great compliment. I know it's amazing. I know you were just new to the band. It was ironically it was on Much Music. It was here in Canada that you did that interview too, which is kind of funny. But I don't know if you remember it. I mean, it's been a long time, obviously, but it's just cool to see that.
Montreal.
Were you? Wow. Right? Okay. Yeah.
No, we did a big show there. Yeah.
It's too bad how things have turned out. I know you can tell by people who've come and gone from Accept. You can tell when Peter left, it's too bad what it is now. It's too bad you didn't have some kind of connection with him, but it is what it is. But with all the music you guys made, it's amazing. It's too bad you couldn't do something together about that.
I heard a rumor that Peter is doing the Mick Mars album.
Oh, really? A lot of people have been on that. A lot of people have come and gone on that, I think.
Yeah, I think he's writing with
John
Mick.
Corabi.
I think John Corabi's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard he was in and out. I heard this guy named Jacob Bunton, who was with Steven Adler at one point too. I think that he's singing on as well too. There's a bunch of things I'm hearing. He's out in Nashville doing that. So hopefully that sees the light of day.
Yeah, I hope so.
Which
is a great guitar player.
Yeah, which is where Wolf is, I believe, too. So he could, if he wanted to, he could probably jump on that as well too. That'd be fascinating. I don't think so, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. We can only wish. Yeah, exactly. I hope they get it together. I have no ill will towards those guys. I mean, they made such a spectacle out of the slap on Peter with me and him, and
yeah, that's why we're not bringing it up, because it's been too much talked about. That's over
like,
nothing.
On,
nothing. Yeah.
I mean, the Beatles had fist fights.
Look at Oasis. Look at the two brothers going at it. Like, look at
Black
family.
Rose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're back together. But look at exactly. It's famous. I mean, it's famous for it if you don't have any conflict. You know what I mean?
I mean, Aerosmith. I mean, those two guys beat the shit out of each other. They can't even be on the same dressing room.
Exactly.
They're still making millions of dollars, but they can't even be around each other that long because, it's kind of like if you've been together over 50 years. Yeah, you're going. I know every body odor from that guy. I know what he's going to say every time he opens his mouth. It's like,
I don't want to hear
I need some space. I got to get out of here, and, Accept's been going since what? Udo came up with the name, I think, in 76. It was his band.
Yeah, so, I remember Michael Wagner, the producer, was talking about he was in an early version of that too with Udo back in the late 60s, actually, when he got drafted to the military in Germany. Like there's a whole long history there. Way before Wolf came in. Like there's a whole history there.
It's
crazy. But Wolf has it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable how things weave and snake around. And I'm a bigger fan of Udo, to be honest. When he does the Accept stuff, I've seen it live. The crowd goes apeshit. And I mean, he is the voice of Accept. I'm not, neither is Mark, in my opinion. I mean, that's just an opinion. Mm-hmm. But when Udo does those songs, it's like
the thing about Accept. Udo. Yeah, exactly.
Before I close out, the thing about Udo, I asked Gabby one time, what is it about that guy? And she looked me in the eyes, and I was drinking and sitting there, because people following him around, wanting his autograph. And she said, because he's one of them.
Yeah.
And I said, what does that mean? He looks like them. He dresses like them. The Germans and the Europeans love him because Udo is one of them. And I was kind of jealous because I said, man, I got to get some of that. He's got it, Mm-hmm. And that's one thing about Udo is that he's so part of his fan base, that, when you get a guy like, so if you go to see Bon Jovi, I don't know about you, but I'm not as pretty as him. I can't walk in a room and go, hey, John Bon Jovi's the guy everybody's staring at. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
I don't know, David. Man, if you go back and look at the Accept album cover, you look pretty there. If you want to go that route,
and that's my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go from a metal band that the people grew up with for 30 years, and then you throw this American guy with poofed out blonde hair, and what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? It's like the traditionalists are going to say, and the purists are going, no. This is not Accept. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
It was a big change too quick. Yeah. Like if you just started with that band, if you came out with Accept and this is the band and you're the singer from the first record on, that would be one thing. And if they replaced you with Udo, that would be a big change too. But the same way, it's a big drastic change that nobody got behind.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or the smart thing to have done was change the name of the band.
Yeah, or shaved your head.
Yeah. Shave my head. Change the name of the band. But the brand Accept sells tickets.
That wasn't going to happen.
So no, I mean, but I've heard that a million times. If you guys had come out with a different name and been a new band, it could have been a hit.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Exactly. But as long as people find it today and they can discover it, I mean, the music is out there and they can hear it. And obviously they do, because people still want to hear you play those songs, myself included. So
thank you.
It has legs. It has legs for sure.
Thank you.
David, I appreciate your time. Like I said, with your busy schedule, I don't know how you breathe, but you're doing it. So I appreciate that. Looking forward to the Allied Forces that it comes out. The Iron Forces.
Iron Allies.
Iron Allies. Easy for me to say. Yeah. Looking forward to that when it comes out. and hearing
I'm
more
stoked,
about it, man.
brother.
Yeah,
Hey, you'll
wait.
be hearing a lot of news probably in the next 6 weeks or so. The media starts, and I'm pretty stoked. I got all the artwork done with Herman on the album. He actually put that together. It looks fabulous, and
Yeah,
we're just waiting on those mixes, and the green light. Let's get it done.
exactly. We'll be waiting on that for sure. So,
all right, Mr.
It's been great, man. All right, we'll talk again, David. You be
have
well.
a great day.
Thank
you
man.
for everything.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
I hope.
Yes, for sure.
Bye.
Take care, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye.